at giving other people advice. But I think the most important thing is to be able to take your own advice. Like, I never thought that I'd be able to get to the point that I'm at today. And the only way to get to that point is believing in yourself and just saying, fuck it, and just doing it.
He just came from Thailand. He just came from Dubai. I got Stan Pavlovsky on the show.
How it all started was I was working in personal injury law, and slowly I saw that there's always been this demand for more customers, and there is no real way for junior law firms to get into this. But I found that I am able to somehow receive these referrals, and then I was able to make money by referring those cases out to lawyers. So, in a way, lead gen was always part of my life.
Who should not get into this industry?
The only way that you're going to succeed in this space, if you want to be at the top, is you have to continue to be a student of the game.
What do you think is the future?
There's no way that you're going to have an organization of like 100 people and you're not going to have like a bunch of prompt engineers that are geniuses at prompting ChatGPT or Claude and creating the necessary tools.
You've seen the people that are putting up numbers, but also running their businesses right properly. What is the common denominator in their success?
It's the people that are hungriest, not for recognition, but for knowledge.
You talked about your hiring methodology, which I thought was fascinating. You good to talk about that? This is non-conventional here.
So I've said this in private. I've never said this publicly, but you have to be able to be...
LFG, it's March 11th, man. Spring season is here. It's March Madness going on. Listen, I'm very, very, very excited. I have a good friend of mine, someone I've known for a very long time, very instrumental in my success in the industry and the growth of my companies. Very instrumental in a lot of people's success, which we'll talk about. Just a wealth of knowledge and someone that's just, I'm just excited to have you here, man. We've been talking about this for a long time. It's glad to have you on the show. He just came from Thailand. He just came from Dubai. I got Stan Pavlovsky on the show. Man, I'm pumped to have you on, man.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. Thanks. So good. It's good to be here. We've been talking about being on this podcast, I think, for years, and it just didn't work out. Whatever, things happen. There's industry drama. There's all sorts of shit. So eventually, we finally made it happen. Very, very excited. I got goosebumps when you were saying that, because we really have been talking about having me on for a long time. And, I'll try and provide as much value as I can and kind of tell my story and talk about, different cheats and hacks that people can use to make more money in pay-per-call, but also about my outlook on the industry and, whatever else you want to discuss.
Yeah, I'm eager to talk about that. Obviously, we were just in Dubai. It's a funny story. We were in Affiliate World Budapest, and then we want to be on the same flight. Where are we going back?
We were coming to Toronto. It was actually from Dubai.
No, but prior to that, in Budapest, we're on the same flight. I'm with my wife, right? And then I see you on the same flight.
That's right.
And then in Dubai, I'm running to the elevator. I go in the elevator. I see you. We're in the same flight on the way to Toronto, man. It was pretty. We're running into each other, man.
That was good. And then thank you for taking my picture passed out on the plane. You and like 90% of my friends, as long as we fly together, at least like most of my friends will start taking pictures of me passed out.
Yeah, but I'm a man of my word. I haven't shown that to anybody. Only you and me have seen that.
Good. We should keep.
Yeah. We'll see. Maybe we could do a poll here. Who wants to see that picture, man? Maybe we donate some money to charity or something. What do you think?
No.
Create a win-win here, man.
That's a terrifying prospect. But then what we need to do? We start with me, no problem. But then whenever we capture a picture of one of the guys from the affiliate space, like Ariel Talon passing out in one of the comments.
We get them all the time. 3 times we got him passing out.
Yeah.
We got Michael Walker passing out. I'm surprised. Oh, she got me. Chance got me. We were on the way to, I had a crazy night.
Do you sleep?
Yeah, I sleep, man. I actually get decent sleep, but that was the one time, man, someone caught me in public. We're not even in public. This fucking guy wasn't supposed to put that in public. He just put it on the story. And we can't put that on LinkedIn, by the way. I can't curse on LinkedIn anymore. We're getting warnings.
All right, so it'll be a PG.
Yeah, that's all. Curse all you want, bro. Fuck those guys.
Fuck LinkedIn.
Yeah, man. Anyway, they need their stock to go up. What the hell are they worried about, man? What the hell, man? We need this. This helps.
This is real. This is a real conversation that two business people are having. Both of us are successful.
Yeah.
Both of us have done great things in our industry. And I'm going to pat myself on the back. But in reality, why not curse? Everybody curses.
They say people that curse most have the most integrity. Man, I got man integrity. Anyway, let's go back. So, yeah, man, listen, I think we first connect, I think maybe 2018, 2019. You had Dylan on your team.
Yeah, Dylan was the one that connected.
Yeah.
Dylan was working for me. Shout out, Dylan. He's doing really good things now. He has some interesting stuff in the works. But so hired Dylan in 2019, I think, or 2018. And then he connected me with you, and he was like, dude, this guy's crazy. He's doing all this crazy stuff in solar, and making all this money, and we need to get him on our platform. And so that was great. And then we've just stayed friends ever since. Like that's the beauty of this industry, is as long as people don't screw around, it's very, very easy to have really close, tight-knit friendships with people, because for the most part, I think at a certain level, people are very likable in our space. It's just a matter of being able to harness that community and gather that trust.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like the cream rises to the top, right? And I know you're very accessible. I'm accessible too, but you most form a moat. Like we have bullshit detectors, and I feel like a lot of people who are like the scammers, where they stay away from us because they know it's not even worth messing with us, because it'll just tarnish their reputation, right? Is what it comes down to.
Exactly. Kind of like what happened with that viral clip of John Casto.
Yeah.
Going up to Timothy Lee, of all people. I mean, that guy is... Anybody getting into pay-per-call, do not work with that guy.
Well, he's in private jets now. Apparently, he's scamming people on private. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, I think the FAA is after this fucking guy. He's getting people like fake. He'll sell them tickets for a private jet, raise 60, 70 grand, and there's no jet. They go there and there's no jet. Yeah, that's his new thing. So he's gone on to a whole new, that's his new vertical, I guess.
I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, there's always going to be scammers in the world, and there's always going to be scammers in our industry as well. And we do have to make moats, as you said. But he's one of those characters where, the amount of people that have been touched by him scamming them is insane. And that's definitely one of those things. It's like, it's very, very easy. Once you break through, it's very, very easy to make money in this space, but you have to be careful, especially in the beginning, especially when you're green. You have to get into this, and you have to have checks and balances, and you have to make sure that you accept that you're going to lose money. First of all, there's no such thing as success without failure, and second of all, that guys like that are going to be swimming around, and you have to avoid them and figure out who the proper people to work with are in this industry.
So I was going to ask you, would that be? I want to go into your history. We were talking about how you got into it, but before we talk about that, who should not get into this industry? Because obviously you got to lose money. You're right. I lost a lot of money before I turned it around, but I don't think a lot of capital is a requirement. I think it helps. Don't get me wrong, but who should not enter this freaking industry?
It's a good question. I mean, it depends on what portion of this industry you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you want to get into it and become an account manager, or you want to become an affiliate manager, you want to work at a network, you want to work at a company like Fluent or like any of these bigger entities out there, then you have to have kind of these capabilities of being a self-starter, and you have to be able to to listen to your superiors, and you have to be driven. But to be kind of like a you, or a Carlos Corona, or a Michael Walker, or a or a Ron Hart, or any of these guys, it takes much more than that. You have to dedicate your entire life and your entire process to the thing that you're doing. You have to learn every single day. You have to learn something new. I feel lazy in comparison to the people that I know, like comparing to guys like Ron Hart. Carlos, every time I see Carlos, he's learning something. He's doing something new. He's testing out. He's like, yo, man, look at this. I just figured out this AI bot for WhatsApp, or I figured out this other thing, or here's this new product that I'm building. You have to have that drive, but more importantly, you have to accept that you're going to be a student of the game for the rest of your life, because this industry is moving fast, and even more so with AI and all of these new advents in technology that are happening. The industry is moving at such a rate and such a breakneck speed that, dude, we hired Vlad from my team. We hired him a while back, and the guy knows more than most of the people that I know.
How old is Vlad?
Vlad's 25.
Yeah, it's so important to hire younger people.
Yeah,
because they know what they know about the AI. They're the guys that know about crypto 10 years ago. You got to be with that generation alpha, man.
Yeah,
for real.
It's honestly it's one of those things. It's the things that I look for when I hire people, is always look for these guys that are kind of a little bit more fringe. So they are reading a lot of books, and they are always studying, and they're always looking for that next thing. It's the only way that you're going to succeed in the space, if you want to be at the top, is you have to continue to be a student of the game. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and I am too. That's why I go to all these different shows. I mean, going to Affiliate World Dubai, and I want to ask you your opinion on that and what you got out of it. But we saw Dimitri speak. It was his first speech ever. I didn't know that. He did a great job. And we sat right next to each other. Man, he blew me away. The guy got me nervous, because he's like, listen, AI is evolving so fast that if you don't adapt, you're going to be out of business within 6 to 9 months. And I'm like, man, he's right, because I feel like I'm way behind. So that inspired me. Like, listen, I told my team, we're doing some stuff, but let's speed it up here. Let's not fuck around, because if we don't do it, our competition is going to do it, and we're going to fall behind, man. So you got to, it's a constant evolution is what it comes down to.
It is. And shout out Papa Dubai, Dimitri. Yeah. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being, and very person. Knowledgeable. Yeah. Very, very knowledgeable. I mean, that guy, from the first time that I met him, I mean, I met Brooklyn first. She's, I think she does all the biz dev and everything for him. But Dimitri has been such an inspiration to me as well. And watching the stuff that he's now putting out as content on Instagram,
great content,
has been very, very good. But watching him speak for the first time, he was like a little bit nervous, a little bit jittery. But then when he got into his own, I think he was talking about something that may not be the most popular topic, and speaking to a crowd of people that are trying to make money and telling them, hey, look, like, if you don't get with the program, if you're not going to do these things, you're going to be obsolete very, very quickly. That becomes an interesting topic of its own. And having that bravery that he had to speak in front of that group of people and kind of be like, this is kind of doom and gloom, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. That's something that I respect a lot about him.
Yeah, and he pulled it back the curtain. Like, the slides were amazing. He was showing all sorts of numbers and stuff that really made you think. The quotes, everything was so relevant. He put some good time and effort into it. And even him, I mean, the guy probably doesn't have to work financially. He seems like he's doing really well, but he's got this thirst and hunger. I think that's what you're saying. If you're going to be in this industry, you have to have that thirst, that hunger, and not to stay complacent, because if you do, you're going to fall back. Your competition and overtake you. There's always be someone young. Someone doesn't have to be younger. Someone that's got that insatiable appetite that's going to get ahead of you.
Yeah, you have to continue to want. You can't have, that's what separates humans from animals, is that we have goals and we have to achieve those goals. And that next step is having that insatiable hunger where you're continually creating these new goals for yourself. I know a lot of professional athletes, a lot of guys in the MMA sphere, and guys like Bo Nickel that I've spoken to in the past, and like, he blows me away. Like, he talks about how, like,
he was at Geek Out, right? In New York. I saw his speak. That was amazing. Yeah,
he spoke at Geek Out. He had that orange, the orange theory or whatever, and that was really cool. But and when you speak to him kind of behind closed doors and you ask him some questions like about your success, like, dude, everybody says that it's hard work, etc. What is it really? Like, I actually, somebody asked him that question at the Orange Bowl, and he said, no, man, like, it really is, like, yeah, there's talent, whatever, but talent can only get you so far. It really is about the hard work, and it is about kind of not coasting and sitting on your laurels and doing nothing. It's, you've reached a certain point. Yay, I made $1 million, or yay, I made whatever that number is. In reality, it's not about the money, but it is about the money. It's about continually having a hunger and being like, okay, well, this year I want to reach this target, or this month I want to reach this target, and then continually upping those targets, whether it be for personal growth, whether it be for financial growth, whether it be for mental health, or whatever the case may be. You always have to have those next targets. And, I'm slowly kind of adapting that strategy to my life as well, because I did, to an extent, at my end of my tenure at Retriever, I did to an extent kind of come to a point where I was like, I'm pretty happy where I am, and like, I can kind of relax and whatever. And now I'm again, and we'll talk about this obviously a little bit later into the podcast, but now I'm again at a point where I'm like I love being the stupidest guy in the room, because I get to learn a lot, and that's where I am now, and it's extremely exciting to be at that point.
Yeah, man, you got me thinking. There's so many places I want to go based on what you just said. I guess let's go to how you started. How you get into the industry? You started in Toronto, is that right?
Yeah. So actually, it's a funny story. So shout out David Brook. He took me for my 25th birthday, I believe. He took me to a restaurant where I met Jason Kay, who's the founder of Retriever. Prior to meeting Jason and kind of getting into the space, I was working in personal injury law for quite a while, and then from personal injury law I transitioned into helping kids with neurological disabilities. But how it all started was, I was working in personal injury law, and I was just like a law clerk, like helping out and whatever with files. And slowly I saw that there's always been this demand for more customers, and there is no real way for junior law firms to get into this. They typically have to have some sort of referral source, and those referral sources are in some cases kind of questionable, especially in Toronto. Like, there's tow trucking and all these other things and rehabs, and this is like, there's like we can have an entire hour-long podcast about the insanity of personal injury law in Toronto, and the mob and everything else that happens there. But I found that I am able to somehow receive these referrals, and then I was able to make money by referring those cases out to lawyers. So, in a way, lead gen was always part of my life, and it just kind of slowly grew. So I started off in personal injury law. I became a settlement specialist. I was settling cases for a couple of different lawyers that I knew. I wasn't a lawyer, but I was doing it in accident benefits, which is where I'm just able to negotiate prices with adjusters on the accident benefits claim. And then from there, I transitioned to working with kids with disabilities after a few years. And that was primarily because we were winning large sums of money for people, for these children in medical malpractice, but there was no therapy that was actually helping, at least in Canada at the time. There was no therapy that was actually helping these kids. And so I ended up figuring something out. We founded a clinic called Revivo, and worked there for about 3.5 years or so. And then on my 25th birthday, again, I'm at this restaurant called Jacob's, and really what ended up happening as we discussed this, I'm kind of like thinking back and remembering, but I really had kind of almost like a mental block or a limiter on where I thought I could go in my life and what I thought I could achieve. And then I met David, and David had nothing to do at the time with the industry, and you'll see that kind of changed over time. But he showed me a side of the world that I didn't know before. Like, to me, the Keg in Toronto is a restaurant that to me would be like the best steakhouse that I could ever go to. And that's like steaks for like $50, And then he takes me for my 25th birthday, he takes me to a restaurant where I look at the menu and like there's $1,000 steak. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like now I look at it and I'm like, okay, that's a great business expense potentially, but back then it was back then, like now it's an experience, but back then, and that's I might cry when I think about that, but back then a $50 steak, that was it. That was the limit. And so he takes me to this place, and we may or may not have had some cannabis prior. And I'm sitting there at the bar, and I'm eating the steak, and they have these big TVs in the front there, and they're showing synchronized swimming. And I don't know about you, but I've never fucking looked at synchronized swimming for longer than a few seconds.
Yeah.
And then looking at it while stoned is like a mind-blowing experience.
Well, I can see the beauty of it. Yeah, we are stoned. I mean, it's like, it's art.
It's insane. It's insane. Not that I've watched much of it afterwards, but for that specific moment in time, that was a great experience. And so I'm sitting there watching this, and the guy sitting beside me is Jason, and that's how we initially met. And then a few weeks later or something, I see him at another place, and we just started communicating. And he's like a very interesting character, and he's like 6'5", and very highly intelligent, and we just hit it off and became friends. And he saw that I was pretty depressed working in the industry that I was working in. And he kind of explained to me that, yeah, I run a telephony company. I'm like, okay, cool. You're like, whatever phone in Toronto, we have Rogers and Bell and whatever. I'm like, so you're doing something like that? He's like, not really. And so we keep talking, and then one day we're talking, and he just says, he's like, yeah, I just like fired half of my staff, and I'm not very happy right now, etc. And I took that as an opportunity, and I said, listen, why don't you hire me? I don't have any experience in the space, but I have the drive, and I know that I can do something. And so hired me $65,000 Canadian my first year. So that's like, I don't know, that's toy money, right? So it's like 40K American or so. And for the first year and a half, I'm sitting at a table panicking. My palms are sweating, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm looking at these phone calls, and we had Assurance starting at the time, and we had that.com, and we had a couple of big accounts. But I didn't understand the performance marketing space at all. And it took me a little while to kind of get used to the technology. I started at first just by doing troubleshooting and kind of really just diving deep into that industry. I also didn't really have much sales experience at the time either. And so what I started doing was reading as many books as I could about sales. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of growth. Like if you don't know anything about an industry, dive in, ask as many questions as you can, and read as many books as you can. I started by reading books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Like Switch, where you're talking about unconscious mirroring techniques. So like you're sitting, with your fingers crossed, I'll sit with my fingers crossed, and those mirroring techniques help in influencing how you're communicating with me, for instance. And then moving into books like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, and then Models. And really Models became one of those books that kind of like it clicked in my head, how to properly communicate with people through honesty.
What's the name of the book? The name of the book is Models, or?
Models.
Okay.
So the book that really changed things for me from like how I communicate with people today is Models by Mark Manson. Great book. Everybody should read it. Like, really, the funny thing is that it's a dating book. So it's meant to be, how do you attract women through honesty and vulnerability for dating purposes, marriage purposes, etc. It's not about like how do you get laid. It's really about how to have a relationship and how to act in that relationship. But in reality, what I took away from it, there's a chapter that talks about the first date experience and how you should go into it and the mindset you should go in with. And what it says is like, us as men, when we go on a date, it's always, I hope she likes me. I hope she likes me. But when you switch that mentality to I hope I like her, that changes things, because the butterflies go away. And now you can have a conversation with this person because you're trying to find the things you don't really necessarily not care, but you don't assign as much value to whether this person likes you. You're just hoping that you like this person, and it kind of like shifts the power dynamic in that specific conversation. And applying that to business, there's really no difference and I'm sorry for for cursing, but there's no difference between
Let fucking go show.
There's no fucking difference between fucking and sales. There's none. Exchanging money is a very, very intimate thing to do, and so is fucking. Like these are similar concepts, at least
Oh, it's true. It's trust at the end of the day.
Yeah, it shows extreme trust, right? So when that concept kind of clicked in my head, I started thinking about, well, I hope I like these people. So I remember I came to my first I think it was LeadsCon was my first conference in this industry. And I literally went up to every booth and started speaking to every single person I could talk to and just try and get as much information out of them as possible. But again, from the perspective of like it's not about me trying to sell something to you. It's about me trying to get as much information out of you about what you're doing. And then trying to create these kind of patterns in my head. Like if you've ever used Lucidchart, my brain functions like a Lucidchart. I'm trying to create these boxes and then create arrows that connect those boxes together. And that kind of gives me an understanding of the world around me. And in lead gen, that became instrumental to me. And at one point, I remember meeting Leo D'Anconia. He had a shout out, Leo.
Yeah, he filmed here with us too in the same spot. Yeah,
yeah, he lives in Miami right now, right? So I really liked Leo, and he was just getting started. We got on a phone call, and this young kid telling me about how he left the call center and now he's doing arbitrage in auto insurance. And I don't remember what platform he was using or if he was using any platform at the time, but I remember saying, I'm like, cool. I know somebody that's purchasing phone calls, so why don't I connect you with the person purchasing those calls? I didn't say, hey, use my product. I said, let me just connect you.
Yeah, you added value to them. Yeah.
All I did was add value. And in How to Win Friends and Influence People, there's a story about a lady that like drops off a hitchhiker at his house during a storm, and she never asked for anything in return. And those people couldn't handle the idea that they had no way of repaying her after she had left because they didn't take her name. They had no idea who she was. And that creates a sort of power that's almost impossible to replicate. So, James Van Elswyk, who you know very well as well, he has a mantra which is, a candle loses nothing by sharing its flame. And I love that mantra. Like to me, that's what I follow, and that's what I've been following for a long time unconsciously. But when I heard it, like clicked in my head, I was like, this is it. This is exactly how I've been acting. And so that's what I did. At first it was with Leo. It was, hey man, let me connect you with all these guys that I know are buying. There were also networks, and that network effect where call starts at $10 or $15 and goes to $20, $25, $30, reaches a buyer at like $40 or $50. And seeing that network was really cool. But also I was then able to, over time, kind of direct a bunch of that business, grow the company by creating a bunch of different referral partners for each other. I didn't ask for anything in return. I just did it because I was trying to create this kind of network effect. This is like, I think I made my first sale for Retriever in the end of 2017 after a year of just nothing. Like thank you, Jason, for allowing me the time to grow into my own and to be able to do that. But that was the formative years were up to 2018, or my formative years were for about 2 years. I was kind of terrified that I was going to fail and burn out and not be able to do anything. And then finally that first sale hits, and then it's a different world completely, because after that you gain momentum and you start building and you start getting confidence, and you become like the sales machine almost over time. And and all I'm doing is, my office was 10 kilometers away from where I live. So I think like, I don't know, 7 miles,
amazing.
7 miles or something.
I think it's a 10. It's nice.
No, 10 kilometers, so like 7 miles. I think in Canadian numbers.
Yeah.
Even though I spend most of my time in the US. And so, but it was on one street. So there's a street in Toronto called Bathurst, and literally one street, but it would take me about an hour and a half one way to go from home to the office and to go from the office to home. And so all I did every single day on the way back and forth from the office to home for years was listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I listened to a ton of them. Like my Audible was packed, and that was instrumental in my gaining knowledge and confidence and understanding, and kind of like understanding my inner voice, and understanding how to speak to people and how to treat people. And honestly, over time, learning from you and learning from the other greats in our space, how you guys function and how you guys talk to each other, was also very, very, very important in my personal growth.
There's a new endeavor called Roofs in the Box. It's just, man, from day one, it's taken off.
When I first started getting into the roofing industry, what was happening was my fixed costs were always there. And so for me, I was looking at how can we kind of, one, save on these costs, and then two, how do I not lay people off during down times, but also maybe even the ability to pocket more money during the slow season or even the peak season. Since we've done this before, like with our lead gen companies where we have virtual staffing, and from Argentina or Colombia, I'm like, why don't we do the same thing in the construction business? Now, once we figured it out, we reduced their fixed costs by 70%. And so now during the downtime, they have real seasoned veteran type of players, but during the uptime, they pocket 70% of their operational costs are now going back in their pocket. And then when it's time to scale, they have the back end prepared, already ready to go to help them like lift off. Depending on what state you're in, you're averaging about 12.5% on what you pay out on taxes, insurance, all the different insurances that you have to pay out, right? So yeah, you don't have to pay out unemployment, you don't have to pay out FICA insurance, Medicare, Social Security, the things that business owners have to eat.
Roofs in the Box is not just limited to roofing or home improvement companies.
You can use it for any services, right? You can use it for IT. We use them internally for data sales, for hygiene, for analytics. It doesn't even matter what the vertical is.
It's like business in the box at the end of the day.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you reminded me of myself when I first got into sales, running call centers, 2005, 2007. I would, there was no podcast back then, so I'd get like these CDs, what was it, the Andrew Carnegie, Tony Robbins, and I would listen. I'd drive 30, 45 minutes. But someone once said, man, they made a joke in the call center, like, Dave's got a university on wheels. That's what it was. I used my time. You hit traffic in Jersey, a lot of traffic. Fuck it, use that to learn, man.
I didn't graduate high school, so that was literally
that, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah, I never graduated. I got my GED like later on. I had to drop out because my family was having a bunch of financial trouble, and I had to work a bunch of jobs and make sure that we kept our place and whatnot. But yeah, we had our hardships, and I mean, that was instrumental to me. Like those 2 years of driving and listening to audiobooks, like the CDs, changed my life.
Well, you have to do that because if you want, you get that edge. I mean, I don't know. Think about how many hours you probably had hundreds of hours that you listen. You know Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers. He's got that book, and he talks about the success. How do you get a professional athlete? They have 10,000 hours of practicing. So you have to hit that 10,000 hour mark. We might have 10,000 hours of self-development. We have thousands of hours. We're way ahead in the average person, you and me. But think about if you have to quantify how many hours you actually listen. Those are the formative years that laid the foundation for where you're at now.
So you give me goosebumps because I'm remembering like when I calculated, I work 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day for years, and I remember reaching that 10,000 hour mark, and I was just kind of like, I had like my own little private celebration. I was kind of happy about it because I got to a point where I didn't really have to be in front of a computer to help anybody. They would just call, and I'd be like, okay, well, you hit on the top left side, you click on publisher, you fill out the publisher ID, and then first name, last name, click create on the bottom right, go to buyers. I can still do the same thing today, obviously, like it's now ingrained in me. But that was actually one of the criteria when I started hiring people, and I hired Dylan. He was my first hire from like a sales perspective. I sat him down and I was like, let me explain this to you. and then okay, well, you do it now. Like,
Yes.
and that's it. I kind of like speed run them through that entire concept and see how long it takes them to retain information, because retaining information in our space is extremely important.
It is.
Well,
So I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about it, but we were, when we were, I don't know, it was on our way back from Dubai, you talked about your hiring methodology, which I thought was fascinating. You good to talk about that? This is non-conventional here.
So I've said this in private. I've never said this publicly, but you have to be able to be, because again, like I said before, models taught me that there's no difference between fucking and sales and making money, right? So you have to be an individual that has the characteristics necessary to be able to get laid. Like that's it. Like that's one of the criteria is you have to be able to do that. Like you have to be able to, because I mean, now it's not the same because we have Tinder and we have like all these dating apps and whatnot. But at a certain point, like I remember being a kid and like trying to approach girls, and I was like nervous, and I was shaky and whatnot, and sales is the same. I remember the first time I come up to somebody at a conference and I'm like nervous and shaky, and I'm like, shit, same thing. So that's kind of where that philosophy came from. But it's more than that, right? Like it's obviously you have to be able to be like that, but you also you have to have some sort of confidence in yourself and in your abilities. You have to be able to retain information really well. You have to be able to communicate to the needs of the consumer by really just listening to them. Like it's not about talking, it's about listening. Proper sales isn't about talking, it's about listening to what that person needs, and then taking the product that you have and kind of applying those concepts to that product, or to their needs rather.
Yeah, I'm reading a book. I got a great story. I met like a power broker in New York City. I think this guy was responsible for getting the World Cup to the tri-state area. And when I had dinner with him, it was with a bunch of other people. We were trying to get some campaign going. Never got going, but it was good to meet this guy. Anyway, very connected. He's like been known the top people there for decades and decades. He recommended a book that we read called "What Things They Don't Teach You About in Harvard." I bought that book. I never read it, but I started reading it. I'm like day 3 into it, and he talks about you got to be able to listen and listen aggressively and observe, right? Because there's subtleties you'll pick up on people, and it's so true. People forget that, right? I think, and he says we're always like in a rush to talk and get our thoughts out there, but if you listen and you'll get people will sell them, you'll know how, they'll teach you how to sell them. Is what it comes down to, and I think we forget that sometimes.
I agree. There's another really good book. It's called Surrounded by Idiots, and also a very unconventional name for a book, but it speaks to the different categories of people that are out there. Like for instance, so there's a few colors that it's a color coordination between personality types and colors. So
great name for a book too, by the way.
Surrounded by Idiots, fantastic. It's Surrounded by Idiots, Surrounded by Psychopaths, and Surrounded by Narcissists. Those are the 3 books from that chain. But Surrounded by Idiots specifically, you have Red. Red are guys that wake up in the morning and they're like, go, go, go. And they're on the treadmill and they're doing all this stuff. And you're making money? Like those guys, it's fucking go. That's you, right? Yeah. And then there's guys that are, or girls or anybody that, they're yellow. And yellow are what I, at the very least, like to consider myself, because I don't necessarily prepare or think before I speak, but somehow 90% of the time, I'm able to say the right thing that allows me to kind of get ahead. And that's what yellow is. It's this like intrinsic ability to communicate and be relatable, but also be able to communicate the right thing to somebody. Then you have blue. And blue are analytical people. So they're the people that like sit there and they really, really study. Shout out my mom. I'll tell her something. She'll be like, well, let me like look into it. And then she'll like read 10,000 pages about something and then be like, no, you're an idiot. And, thanks, mom. Yeah. But, and then you have green. And green are people that are your essential workhorses that will spend the time. They don't really care if they're getting paid more than somebody else. They just want to spend their time doing the thing that they're good at without really being bothered. They just want to keep the peace, and they want to spend their time working. And so that's another consideration, like when you're hiring people, because you don't want to have an organization of just like reds. Imagine your company is just 10
Oh, no, it's no good.
total X.
It's gonna be terrible. Yeah, we fuck things up, man. Oh,
exactly. Or
yeah, business.
Or a bunch of me's. Like I'll be dreaming about ideas and things, and I'll never get anything done. Like I need people behind me that can support me, or people in front of me. I like to lead from the front, but I do need people that will support me, because I have 10,000 ideas a day, and most of them are dumb, but one of them is really good. But I need to be able to also execute on those ideas, right? So we need a balance of these types of different individuals that'll be analytical, that'll question. Like shout out Phil, he's extremely analytical, and he was the voice of reason in a lot of ways, where me and him would like bounce ideas off of each other and be like, dude, this is so great, and he'd be like, oh yeah, maybe not, like maybe we should think about it another way. So that balance in an organization is extremely important.
It's huge. I was going to ask you that with regard to that. How do you know when to give in? Like, okay, you might have an idea you think is amazing. Your personality type is a little different. We're similar, but you're also different too. Yeah. But like, how do you know when to give in? Where you might be so passionate about an idea, but like someone like Phil, my partner Ed is like that too. We're very similar, but we also balance each other out, which is you need that, So when do you know? Okay, hey, fuck it. I think I might be off my kilter here. Let me concede.
That's a good question. To me, it's a feeling, right? Like if I really truly feel about something very strongly, and that feeling doesn't seem to go away, it's like the Marie Kondo method, with clothing, right? Like you touch it and you love it, or you don't. If I start getting pushback on an idea, and it's something where, like you have a point, etc., and I start thinking about it, like maybe this is dumb, then I'll say that. Right, like it's being honest with yourself, right? Because you can be passionate about something, but you shouldn't be stubborn about it. There's a big difference between being stubborn and being passionate. So passion, great. Stubbornness, great in some cases. You want to be stubborn if you're starting in this industry and you want to make money and you've lost some money. You want to be able to push through those pain points in order to get to success on the other side. But if you have an individual such as yourself, and you should consider yourself extremely lucky to have a partner like that, but somebody that's able to balance out those feelings and be that individual for you, then that's absolutely incredible. Like listen to that person, because their opinion is worth its weight in gold.
Mm-hmm. And I would say too, if our industry is very diverse, so you have like one-man shops, you have people who have dozens, not hundreds of people on their team, but I would say if you're someone that's 1, 2, 3 people, and maybe you don't have a partner, get a mentor, a business mentor that'll help you kind of see what's going on. Because if you just rely on yourself, you're not gonna always have you might be able to get from point A to point B, but to get to point Z, you're gonna need a supporting cast of characters.
But I remember, I think it was 2018 to 2019. I met Drew Thorne Thompson. He was a sales guy for Invoca.
Is he at Pipes?
He's at Pipes now, or he does like a bunch of different things. But at the time he was at Invoca, or he had just left Invoca. And I remember flying to meet him in California, and I'm like this young, impressionable, young Stan. And like I rent the car and I drive. He's in Santa Barbara or something, like he's like, and I fly into LA and I drive to meet him. He's like this cool dude, and he's like, he has horses and lives in like on a fucking crazy property, and we go sit down by the beach and have tacos, and we're talking about life and about outlook on business and sales, and I'm like, motherfucker, this guy is so fucking cool. And I asked him point blank, I'm like, do you mind being my mentor? Because I would love to be able to question you and pick your brain and learn certain concepts from you. At a certain point, I love Drew to death. He's a fantastic human being. At a certain point, it's not like I outgrew him or anything like that, but, we get busy and whatever. But I've always valued his opinions and his insights, and he was that guy for me. And then eventually that became James, because when I met James, the first time I met him was after, actually, you introduced him to me initially, but you showed me, I think, a clip of Geek Out. And in that clip, he talks about these things, and I've been thinking about, at that point, I've been thinking for a while about starting an event, and I'm listening to him speak, and I'm like, I hate how much I like him. Like he's saying all the things that I would say, and he's saying them so much better than I'll ever say them. So I do consider James, even though we haven't spoken much in recent times, just because both of us are busy. He's running a bunch of stuff, and so am I. When I do get a chance to talk to him, I savor every moment, because I learn a lot by communicating with him as well. So those mentors are extremely important. And I think in most cases, I haven't the famous people, the famous, relatively speaking, the famous people that I've met in our industry, kind of the cool kids club of our industry, right? If you approach any one of them, I don't think that any of them would ever refuse to have a conversation or refuse to be that person, because to an extent it's a massive amount of it's very flattering to have somebody approach you and say, hey man, I'd love for you to be my mentor. But also, people in the space that are successful do tend to want to share their knowledge, and everybody should go out and find somebody that is kind of like boy, I want to be like you when I grow up, like now it's somebody else. It's very interesting, and we'll talk about this in a bit, but James became that person for me for sure on a lot of different levels. He's just a cool dude.
Yeah.
Like he's fucking fantastic, and like I want to be like that.
It was influential in my growth too.
Exactly. Like he gave you your start as well to an extent.
Yeah, we blew up solar together, man. I learned how to manage campaigns and blow up campaigns with them, And by the way, we did a podcast with him like a year ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, guys, if you haven't seen that one, you got to watch it. That was one of the better ones we did. That was amazing. That was a good one, man. He went in. He got into psychology, and like he went deep. He wasn't talking about stuff like vulnerabilities and fears and this, like stuff you wouldn't expect. He's a big guy. He was like 6'3".
Yeah.
And very well known in the industry, very well respected. But to hear someone like that, like not expose us, but like talk about their vulnerabilities, like, man, that was amazing. A lot of people got a lot out of that, man. Talking about his, one of his best meetings, talking about mentors, like his psychotherapist is like a mentor because it helps him go deep inside, right? So a lot of people won't talk about that. I mean, it's important.
Therapy is important. I recently went through a breakup after 6 years with the same person, and she's great, and really it's kind of my fault for the way things ended, but now I have been talking to somebody from like a perspective of like trying to understand my mistakes and figuring things out. It's like one of those coach type people, right? And it's been very fruitful to kind of get a perspective, because I have a bunch of friends, and I can have very deep conversations with, again, guys like David, guys like Dylan, and Boris, and guys that everybody knows in our industry. But it's another thing to be able to have that conversation with a stranger that can sum it up differently than somebody that for many, many years. Like it's a very, very different thing. So it's very, very important to take care of your mental health, especially in our industry.
Oh yeah, because the swings, man, they're freaking crazy. Have you seen me? How many chances to see me, man? 6 months ago, like everything was going wrong. What the fuck are we doing, man? Am I going to be in business in 3 months, man? Like, what the hell to do? And then all of a sudden, like you're around the right people, and then things turn around. But it's you could be right here for years and years and years, and all of a sudden something happens, legislation, boom, or you get like really quickly. And a lot of people, they don't understand that, man, is what it comes down to. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's helped me out. Mentors, people in the industry, therapists. I mean, that's helped me get through that. And now we're doing great again. But I can't emphasize enough. I think some of the people, I don't know, they feel embarrassed, whatever, but it's out there for you. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, and especially take advantage of that network effect. Become close to people that you believe are reaching the goals or have achieved the goals that you're trying to achieve. That is, I recently met this guy, Sean. He runs a very interesting campaign. You know him as well. He's the guy with the largest porta potty campaign.
Oh yeah, that guy's awesome, by the way. Man, we had a blast in Dubai with him.
Yeah. And I was talking to him, and I'm like, dude, like what? Like, so is this it? Is this what you do? And he's like, yeah, but I also run an investment fund where I purchase companies that are doing at least $150 million in EBITDA.
Yeah. That's a big number, yeah.
What? Like, and so I started talking to him. So I've been taking bits and pieces of knowledge.
He's a great guy. He's willing to talk to you. He's not sharing like withholding from me.
So open. There's a lot of guys at that point, especially in investment banking and whatnot. They're just gonna be like, yeah, okay.
You remind me, I'm gonna be in New York tomorrow. I gotta hit him up.
You should.
If he's there, I don't know. He travels so much. He might even.
He travels more than you and I.
Yeah, it's combined. I think.
Yeah,
he travels more than us combined.
Yeah, it's crazy, and we travel a lot.
Yeah, I know.
That's insane. Yeah, he travels a fair bit. Yeah. But yeah, mentors are number one of the most important things for sure. Like,
yeah. And I would say I'm going to go into something too. You may have forgotten about this. That's what I like about these shows, is that it's fun. You take a trip down memory lane. You may have forgotten about this, but we both know Anthony Sandrea. He's a legend in our space. He exited his company, I think 2-3 years ago for tens of millions of dollars. I mean, it's public out there. $70 million was the number, right? And I was going through something similar. I was about 2 years ago, ready to exit. I was in the middle of it, and I was looking at advice for people. And I talked to him because he'd been around the block, and he introduced me to investment bankers. Like the guy was really freaking. I was amazed that he was willing to do it, no problem.
One of the most genuine people I've ever met in my life. Honestly, I make it a point whenever I'm in Las Vegas, especially in between conferences, if I can find, you know, even a day to have an hour with Anthony and just sit down and chat with him. Like it'll be like he's an early riser, so it'll be like 8 a.m. He's like, bro, yeah, like, yeah, man, let's get together.
Yeah.
And then it's like, come meet me at 8 a.m. at this like grocery store, and we'll sit down.
His shorts.
Yeah.
They're like in his sweats. Yeah, giant pants.
No longer with McLaren. Now he's a Tesla driver. So.
Oh, really?
Shout out Anthony. But yeah, so the last time I saw him, I was like going through this process of making a very, very big life decision. And I was I was thinking about leaving Retriever and moving on and moving to a different space, and I was scared, and I sat down with him, and I'm like, dude, like, here's my ideas, here's where I am. And he spoke to me and gave me some really good wisdom and some really good advice. And, whenever I have an idea, like, credit to that dude, man, because I can call him, my ADHD will flare up, and I'll have this idea, and I'll be like, yo, man, when can I talk to you? I have like a really good idea about something cool that, might be of interest. And so far, like, none of those have come to fruition. None of them. But eventually they will. One of them will strike.
It's a numbers game.
But he will listen to me every single time and try and give me some advice and wisdom, and he's always going to listen. Him and Josh Snow as well. He's they were partners in that business before, and I saw Josh recently, and he's doing some really cool stuff. And he's also one of those guys, like, if you can catch him, you can gain a lot of wisdom out of listening to him speak.
Yeah, and where I was going to go with that is that I think the reason why he's willing to do it, and he's a cool guy. He's very forthcoming and willing to spend his time with people. Doesn't matter, right? But he had told me during that experience that you got to talk to Stan. He's the man. He really helped me during this process. I guess you connected him with a bunch of people too. So he said that, and I known you and I had done some stuff prior to that. But when I heard about that, because exiting an investment bank, that's a whole different world. That's a whole different level. So I was like, I didn't know Stan had that kind of experience. But so I think that's why you helped him during that. It's a value exchange at the end of the day.
Yeah. So the philosophy is walk softly and carry a big stick, right? So I the most important things that I've accomplished, or the most important deals that I've made, are ones that I don't talk about and that I kind of keep quiet, because those are just for me. Those are things that I want to kind of keep to myself, and they're like my little cookie jar moments that I'm feeling down or something happens, or Jocko Willink says whenever anything bad happens, good. More time to improve, more time to move on, more time to get better gear, to get whatever, he's a Marine and whatnot. But I also believe that wholeheartedly, that I need to have these like private moments and private wins, and I'm very, very happy about the ones that I've had, because I've been able to help a lot of people, and to me that's invaluable, because it created lifelong relationships and friendships that are, if one day something happens, sure, I can ask for favors as well, but just seeing those people be successful and happy is the biggest reward to me.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, that's why I'm so glad to have you on here, because you're very well respected. You're very well known. I mean, when you say you've been in the industry with 8-9 years, it really feels like decades, right? I mean, it's right, doesn't it? I mean, for me, it feels that way. Like, it's crazy.
I aged so much in the past 8 years.
It'll do that to you, man. I mean, honestly, but no, that's a thing, and it's a great thing. So, man, there's so much stuff I want to talk to you about, and I guess I don't know, maybe now's the appropriate time to talk about this. Like, what do you think is the future of Legion? Where's this world going to? It's a lot of changes. AI is here, and we were just in Dubai. There's so much stuff going on there. Like, what are you seeing, and how do people not just survive and thrive, prosper in this environment?
I think that the name of the game is disruption. And, I'll take the time to tell you about some disruption that I'm part of now. And, I mean, again, Dmitry was right when he says that there's a lot of risk out there, and if you're not learning, and if you're not doing the stuff that Samara is doing, for instance, with AI, or Ron Hart, or Michael Walker, like, he's been posting some cool shit that he's been dealing with, and I follow these guys, and I kind of watch them from the sidelines, and I'm very, very interested in what they're doing. I recently left Retriever. I left, and at first I decided, maybe I'm gonna like just consult for a bunch of different companies. But during kind of the last part of my time at Retriever, I met a very, very special guy. His name is Tyler Reese. Tyler sold his company for a very large amount of money to Humana. His company was called Innovative Financial Group, IFG. He had the largest Medicare agency in the United States, like bigger than anybody else that you can imagine. And he started looking at after he sold, he started looking at the inefficiencies that he saw in the space, in the call center space, in the compliance space, in the policy signing space, and quoting and enrollment, reporting space, and kind of all over the map. And he said, "Well, why isn't there something that kind of becomes one omni-channel platform that can disrupt the space and can create something interesting?" And so, as of this month, I joined as chief strategy officer, company called Enroll Here. I believe that we are the disruptor of this industry. I believe that what we've gathered, aside from just the technology, is the knowledge of the people that are on the team. You can't get any better than Tyler from the perspective of an agency owner that sold a business to Humana. I mean, if you've ever gone through Humana's compliance, which put Phil on suicide watch for a while, you know, he's a special character. He's a special guy. He's like the biggest family guy I've ever met in my life. Like, we're sitting here today, and we were supposed to be here until Thursday, but yesterday I was like, yeah, I miss my family. I just want to go home. So we're leaving tomorrow instead of on Thursday. And I respect the crap out of that, because like there aren't many people that are willing to do that. People will sacrifice everything aside from business, and he does the opposite. He sacrifices business for family to an extent, not in the way that like anything negative happens, but he'd rather work from home and see his kids and see his wife than otherwise. But his knowledge in the industry is incredible. He gathered under him guys like Josh and Ryan, who have been partners with him in Innovative Financial Group, and he hired Brandon Clay as our CEO, who has over 20 years of industry experience in Medicare, on kind of the other side of the Medicare policy side, not on the sales side from like the pay-per-call perspective, but on the other side. And that's extremely instrumental. And that man has so many interesting strategies as CEO that I don't think I've known a proper CEO until I met him. He impresses me like crazy. And I kind of look at him like, man, if I ever become CEO, I want to be like him. Like, I want to be that kind of guy, because his storytelling ability, the way he posts on LinkedIn, the things that he does behind the scenes, obviously I can't talk about a lot of it, but the things that he does behind the scenes and how he does them is phenomenal. And then the tech team that we've gathered with Nico and Tim, and the rest of the team, like, they were able to build this fantastic software that does, we have a dialer product, we have a reporting product for affiliates, we have for affiliates from the perspective of for the agencies that are using our product to be able to see proper values. We have a commissions product, which is extremely complicated, and I don't know it well yet, but it allows for calculating commissions for agents directly. We have an AI product for compliance that listens to the phone calls, gets rid of the PII information, and scores based on the compliance of the agent on the phone, whether they said the right things. There's 25 questions that every carrier asks in Medicare, for example, and you have to answer those 25 questions as you're communicating with the consumer. So this tool scores for that compliance, and that varies, and some of the agencies get really, really shocked when they start seeing that they were thinking they were running a great shop, and then suddenly they see that their compliance rating is like 25%.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, well, we need to work on that. And then we have a product that we'll be rolling out, which is an enrollment platform as well. So those Medicare agents sitting on the platform will actually be able to allow for enrollments. Now, from the perspective of pay-per-call, the reason this is disruptive and very exciting is because obviously, myself and a lot of the guys on the team, we know who the originating publishers are, and a lot of these agencies don't, and they'll fall into the into kind of the mistakes of purchasing calls from people that they shouldn't. So by working with Enroll Here, a publisher, instead of having 20 or 30 different endpoints to send phone calls to and having to make those decisions, Enroll Here will actually make a decision based on a bunch of different variables, and again, through one phone number, send that phone call to one of the 20 or 30 or 40 or however many agencies we have on the platform.
Right.
And to give you an idea, we've grown. The company started in AAP, and they were doing about 7,000 paid phone calls. Now, outside of AAP, it's in the 20,000 range.
Wow.
So, so the growth is unreal, and it's extremely exciting and kind of scary because, again, I find myself being the stupidest guy in the room. Being a chief officer, you think, oh yeah, the world. It's kind of like when you grow up and you're like, oh, I'm an adult now. And then you're like, I know nothing. And then
Levels.
yeah, there's levels to it. There's levels. And this product is one of those things where I've now reached a new level where I'm learning a bunch of new things from the insurance perspective, but also the product is teaching me a lot, but also the people there are teaching me a lot. And I think originating publishers in our industry, guys like Abe and Hagen, I don't want to mention a lot of names because then people are going to go to them. But if you're an originating publisher, if you're a person that actually generates your own phone calls, you're not a network, but you're actually generating your own calls. And the reason I say that is because networks are fine and great. The difference is that originating publishers, have control over the creative. I want to work with you. So message me, email me, LinkedIn me, whatever. I want to work with people that actually generate their own media buying, because they are the invaluable lifeblood of the pay-per-call space. So we want to make their lives easier by giving them a single phone number or maybe two phone numbers that'll reach 40, 50, 60, 100 different agencies and thousands of different agents.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, if you want to talk about disruption in the space, that's kind of a bombshell. Is Enroll Here is going to disrupt the industry in the pay-per-call space. Other than that, it was Anthony Paluzzi asked me. He messaged me and he's like, "Hey, I want to get like a quote from you about what's going to happen in the industry." And this is prior to all of us celebrating the 1-to-1 went away.
Mm.
But I said that the industry is kind of cleaning itself up, and we're getting less of the riffraff and better quality calls, and there's more intent, and LTVs are going up, and costs of acquisition are kind of going down in a way, or at the very least they're now following the rate of the success, right? So what I see happening in 2025 and onwards is I see a more educated consumer, but I also see a more educated, more technical affiliate, because the others that aren't, they're just going to fall to the wayside. There's no way, to Dimitri's point, there's no way that you're going to have an organization of like 100 people and you're not going to have like a bunch of prompt engineers that are geniuses at prompting ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other solutions and creating the necessary tools. Because you're not going to compete with somebody if you're making 2-3 creatives a day. You're not going to compete with Samara, who's doing a couple hundred creatives a day. Like, it's just not going to happen. So the opportunity and the breadth of opportunity is only increasing. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, when I started in the industry, I started going after traditional agencies. And those traditional agencies, when you speak to them, they talk about, sign a $10,000 retainer and pay for the media buy, and we're going to make sure that you get a lot of traffic, yay. And then that traffic results in like $40 of calls, not of pay-per-call value, but of just phone calls, right? So a month, which is nothing. It's like, I don't know, 10, 15 calls a day or something. So if you're a performance marketer, try and go the route of competing with traditional agencies, because they're not going to be able to compete with the mentality that you have, which is a result-driven mentality. If you're going to go to a brand and say, "Hey, instead of paying me a $10,000 retainer, let's make a partnership. I'll I'll sacrifice my money and I'll try and make something happen for you, and let's deal in sales rather than deal in branding, so to speak. And branding is important, obviously, right? But but it has to be both. It has to be kind of that dual hybrid mentality. There's a lot of interesting campaigns out there. Home services is growing like crazy. Like home services is becoming a massive, massive vertical, and there was a lot of funding that's going into that space.
Huge amounts, yeah.
Huge amounts. Medicare, ACA, final expense, those are kind of evergreen verticals that will continue existing no matter the legislation. I remember in 2018, there was legislation coming out and it was, yeah, that's it. Medicare is done. And you saw a bunch of people leave, but then that left more room to play for others, and you have at the top of our industry, you have guys like Bilal and guys like Manny and Dmitry and all these different, like weapons. They're assassins in our industry, and they will roll with the punches because, I mean, you have to adapt, right? Like that's all part of the evolution of our space. So don't be scared of legislation. Be cautious, but try and roll with the punches, and just be aggressive with how you're doing it.
I love that you said roll with the punches. I think that's one thing a lot of people, I think media buyers, affiliates, or whatever you want to call it, or even business people, sometimes it can be very short-term thinking, and they want to hop from, if the money, they're used to living this way, and then the money goes here, like, fuck, I got to get back. So they jump into something else, keep jumping around, rather than roll with the punches, stick it through, take a few steps backwards, figure it out. Everything will wash, the other groups will wash themselves out. Then you rise to the top. That's what happened with us in solar back in 2019. All these guys started going out of business. We stuck around, rolled the punches, and boom, we're like a vacuum that we...
You were the leader.
We were the leader, right? And then that let us rise. But speaking of going a step further, speaking of Manny Zuccarelli, we're going to have him on the show one day soon. I can't wait for that one. But we interviewed him, did a short interview with him at Legion World. He went to Washington, D.C. He's trying to affect policy change. He's getting in the heads of the Congress people. A lot of people in the industry are like, oh, fuck, I'm not meeting those people. Fuck those guys, da, da, da. He's actually getting to know them, talking about how to win friends and influence people. He's trying to influence policy, which is amazing, right? So I think that's the other, we talked about levels. That's the other way of thinking, and like, hey, this industry's been good to me. Yeah, it's washing people out. It's going to affect me short term, but how do I benefit from this long term?
What he's doing is he's not being reactionary. He's actually being active, right? Like reactionary is when one-to-one became a consideration. We had two different alliances pop up that were fighting it, and IMC was extremely successful in fighting against them.
Yeah, shout out to them, because I remember when I didn't think that was I'm like, man, everyone's like, they had like a 1% chance. But fuck it, they made it. 1% chance is better than zero.
They rescued you. They rescued
everybody, man.
They rescued everybody. So shout out to those guys. Excuse me. But Manny is definitely being more active and not reactive, and that's great to see. And I think as our industry becomes more legitimized, we're going to see more of that, right? That over the years, I mean, the wild west of 2016, 2015 pay-per call versus today, it's a different world. I mean, I've seen it. Obviously, I can't discuss it, but being part of Retriever, I was able to see everybody's phone calls. I saw what people were doing, and it was insane. And now over time, like we have Dave and Leo created TrueCall.
Yep.
Right. And TrueCall is like, you talk to most publishers and you mention the word TrueCall, it's like violence. Because nobody wants to show the real creatives, right? And it's like, when I talk to publishers about working with Enroll Here, I tell them, so I'm like, dude, like, okay, like I understand you have some ideas. Show me the true creative. Okay? Because I know it's not going to be the creative that you're sending the media to. There's no way. But if you show me the true creative and it's not too crazy, then yeah, okay, like let's work together, let's figure something out. But these guys, eventually the industry will wake up to the fact that you can do an API lookup of Facebook Marketplace and find the FBCL ID that corresponds with a specific ad set or group, etc. You can do the same thing with Google, right? And I really believe like that eventually the buyers are going to catch on to this, and they're going to start accepting TrueCall as their solution, and it's going to cause a lot of people a lot of pain. But at the same time, there's a balance here.
Yep.
Because you cannot have a non-aggressive ad. Because it's almost like a necessary evil. Like I remember a story of a Medicare buyer that called one of my customers back in the day. I was like, are you out of your mind? You have what kind of creative? That's the creative that you're using? Shut it off on Monday, because we really like it, because the CPA is really good. You know, the cost of the acquisition was like $100 for Medicare or something.
It's incredible. Yeah.
It was great. By the way, Enroll Here's cost of acquisition on average from the publisher pool that we have that's selling to our customer base is currently between $80 to $160.
That's insane. That's like ACA numbers.
It's nuts. It's
crazy.
It's crazy stuff. But yeah, so you know, you have to adapt, and eventually TrueCall or a solution like TrueCall is going to come around. I remember when Jornaya came around, and
oh yeah,
and I think it was a final expense for Johnson & Johnson or like one of those companies, and the publisher was like, you want me to do what? You want me to have this ID that shows you whether the form that was there prior to the outbound dial is the right form? And no, I'm never going to do that. And then you had the scammers out of certain countries that were like, no, we have Jornaya, and what it was literally a guy.
I bought those fucking calls, man. Jesus, it got me in trouble too. I didn't know. I thought it was legit, man.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. And so I remember speaking to the guys at Jornaya, and I was like, okay, what we need to do is we need to not just make sure that the language is present and all these things are present, but we need to figure out whether the IP of the consumer matches the area code and matches like the submission time, etc. Because sometimes the submissions were like a second to fill out an entire form, which is impossible, right? So time to make a submission happen, all these different things. There's always been software that attempted to clean up and legitimize things. And it's not that, look, all marketing is legit marketing in a way. Like if you're getting somebody to make a phone call, then to an extent that's legit.
Yeah, there's something.
And you know, it's that Joe Rogan joke. You know, it's he doesn't feel bad for the guys that are on the back page of a Hustler magazine buying big dick pills and you know, thinking that they're gonna work, right? Like those guys can get scammed. It's the guys that, you know, get scammed by Enron type shit. That's what scares them. But you know, it's getting a person on the phone and then selling them a product that takes a certain level of talent, and you have to be careful about how you do it, and you have to follow certain guidelines. But I think there needs to be a balance between legitimacy and the ability to be creative, because like you're not gonna sell. Like if an agency is expecting to get the most clean phone call in the world for $5 or something or whatever, then it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So there has to be a balance of these things.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right about it. I think it's almost like a maturation of the industry, right? There's more. The buyers, the advertisers are becoming more keen to all this bullshit that was going on. Like me too. I bought those leads, man, thinking they were legit. So I had a freaking real legitimate TCPA issue. I'm like, the fuck, this has your eye. What do you mean this isn't real? The IP didn't match. I'm like, oh my God, here we go, right? So then I had to get fucked to understand I was doing something wrong, and then you become smart. And the same thing with the advertisers. So, and then when Dimitri spoke in the affiliate world, he talked about they're gonna have this AI where it's gonna catch that shit right away. So the bottom line is like you have to adapt. You can't be playing.
Imagine to Dimitri's point. Imagine what happens when you have to submit the SMID ads to Facebook, and if the ad doesn't have SMID on it, and you're pushing media to it, then that ad gets blocked.
Yeah.
Because Facebook made a deal with CMS or something. Yeah. Imagine that nightmare world.
Yeah, and then you maybe you get away with it. And then what happens when you pumped $500,000 worth of calls and your buyer gets slapped on they slap on the wrist, and all of a sudden they don't want to pay your bill? That happens all the time. You've seen that. You've probably seen people burn millions of dollars. I mean, these are big fucking numbers, man. We're talking about. Yeah. It's not worth it.
I mean, how many times did you know? There's a Medicare company out there that whenever they get 20, I don't want to name names for obvious reasons, but there's a Medicare company out there that whenever a publisher or a publisher's, or you know, like a network's publisher somewhere down the line had a TCPA issue, they paused the entire invoice, and the invoice could be $500,000, it could be $1 million until they investigate and go through the whole thing. So it does get really crazy.
It's crazy, man. And cash flow is everything. It's happened to me too, and I thought I was, you know, when I first learned, got in this industry, I'm starting to pump volume. You buy a lead like that, you think you're going to pay $200,000 from your advertiser, all of a sudden they have an issue like that. Yeah, they hold on to that 60, 90, 120 days. And you're like, what am I going to do? I got to pay this person, pay that person. You're not talking about small money, man. So yeah, that stuff's going to be going away pretty soon with this AI, man. So you got to adapt. So I'm glad you talked about that.
Yeah. I mean, AI is definitely the game changer in our world. But moving away from AI, like that's great. Like I think I think eventually most people that will remain in the space once that kind of AI filter comes down harder than it's already coming down, those people are going to be fine. Like they'll figure out ways to properly prompt or hire proper, chat GPT engineers or whatever. My biggest hope is that they pay those operators the right amount of money because, I was thinking about this for a long time, and one of the things that pissed me off when I was at Retriever was the lowest paid employee was responsible for the most critical part of the business.
That's a lot.
The lowest paid employee was the most responsible for the most critical part of your business, which was managing call flow. So imagine you're doing $100,000 in media buying, and you're sending it into a system like Retriever or Ringba or TrackDrive or whatever the system is, and your lowest paid employee is the one managing it. It's insane. It's insane to me that people would would outsource that stuff. Like it drives me nuts. And then one of the things that we would have was and somebody like me or like Phil or any one of our employees where the employees are all highly skilled. We didn't hire people that actually, including our marketing people, everybody knew how to create a ping post integration.
It's amazing.
Be it with Ringba or with any other platform out there. They knew how to do that. And that's in itself has a crazy value because you have to be able to help a customer. But the reason that we had to help them to that extent, even while building simplifying features and building, web configurators and all these different things, is because on the other side of the coin, everybody's trying to save money because they're already spending so much. And so instead of paying somebody an extra $60K a year or $100K a year, US, Canadian, right? So let's say you pay an operator $100K a year to manage your call campaigns. That person is worth their weight in gold because all of the money that you're making or the bulk of the money that you're making is being made through those campaigns. So that person is going to be highly intelligent and understanding how to properly create flows that make sense or spot the problem of why that phone call didn't go to the right buyer or why didn't the rescue feature pull the call and send it somewhere that it had to be sent or whatever the case may be. Those people matter because those people are going to make sure they can be the difference between making $1 million and making $500,000 or whatever the case may be. Like the amount of pings that we now have in the pay per call space is crazy. It's millions upon millions upon millions of pings. It's I don't remember what the number is off the top of my head, but there's like a massive number of these pings. And then if I talk to majority of the operators within their companies, like I don't know, I tell my rep to set up my RTB, and it's like, and by the way, I also don't like the term RTB. It's RTBB, which is RTB stands for real-time bidding. In reality, it's real-time blind bidding because you're also not seeing the other bids that are coming in. So there's no proper competition between the different parties. So you have zero insight into why your bids aren't being accepted, but you're also paying somebody that's probably not smart enough or not skilled, and maybe not smart enough isn't the right word, but not skilled enough to properly diagnose those problems, or maybe just doesn't give a shit because they're not getting paid enough money. Like you shouldn't be outsourcing the most important portion of your business to those people. Those people should be highly skilled people that you pay a lot of money because they're the ones driving your business forward. Just like you should be paying your media buyers a lot of money, you should be paying your operators a lot of money because without them, like yeah, sure, you can sit and your company can generate millions of dollars and you can drive your Lamborghini and do your cell phone videos and be like look at how rich I am. But in reality, is it due wealth or is it you sacrificing a portion of your business and maybe even making more money by having those people?
Yeah, and the headaches, man, it's not even worth it. I mean, when I first started my company, we had this terrible, I'm not gonna say the name of this. It was a cheap call routing thing, not call routing. I think we weren't doing calls, but like a Leadspedia kind of competitor kind of thing, right? I mean, I didn't want to pay whatever they were $5,000 a month. So I think I was paying $500 a month. Oh my God, bro! I'd have a day where I thought I made fucking, I don't know, $3,000, $5,000 to profit, and like we wound up making nothing because half the leads didn't go where they're supposed to go. It was such a mess, and I don't even know how I kept my guy Tom on the team. I don't know how he didn't quit because fuck, man, there was always issues. And then I realized, I'm trying to save $3,000-$4,000 a month. And bro, I just pissed that away in a day because of this bullshit. And I was pissing away 15, 20 grand a month, at least, maybe more. And I remember going to my wife, I'm like, I got to stop this shit because I'm looking at the revenue numbers, but where the fuck's the profit? And I look at the end of the month, like I have half the profit I should have made because of this bullshit. So you wind up shooting yourself in the foot.
Really you're trying to save money where you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Right? You're trying to save money either on the tech or you're trying to save money on the employee that manages that tech. And those are two big mistakes. Like, yeah, okay, if somebody's charging you 10 cents a minute for your calls, that doesn't make any sense. But if they're charging you a fair amount and they're providing you with enough assistance, you should still have somebody in-house that's a fucking expert at it, because that's what's making you all your money. That's it. You have to have your crazy expert dialer guy. You have to have your crazy expert reporting guy. You have to, like all of those roles have to be taken care of by experts, by extremely analytical, extremely devoted people, and you have to show them their appreciation, and they have to make the money that they should be making because of that.
Yeah, man. So this is fascinating, man. A lot of good stuff here. I want to ask you. We're coming up on time here, but I want to ask you something I think is very important. You have a very unique. You've had very unique eyes on things, right? In your past 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it's been, a very different perspective than I'd say 99.5% of people out there. What is the common denominator in terms of, I don't even want to say business person in our industry, lead generator, media buyer? Like you've seen the people that are putting up numbers and not just putting up numbers, but also running their businesses right properly. We mentioned someone like Anthony Sangieri. It's a great example, right? What's the common denominator in their success? You may have answered it earlier. You said something maybe it's related to that, but what do you think is, why have they been successful? What to reach that echelon? How do you get there? What have you seen inside of them?
It's the people that are hungriest, not for recognition, but for knowledge. Right, guys like Dimitri, guys like Anthony, guys like Ron Hart, Carlos, Michael Walker, Bilal, Manny Zuccarelli, Leo, David, Boris, like all these guys, like they're all so hungry for knowledge and self-improvement in their daily lives as well as their business lives that others just don't compare. It's kind of like that whole idea of Kobe Bryant going to court like a few hours early every day.
That's amazing. Yeah.
At the end of the day, he was doing so much more than somebody else, right? So that same concept applied to business gets you the exact same result. You get people where, they're so passionate about their business. Like for instance, I never want to talk to Boris on a Monday. Like I hang up on him if he calls me. I can't, because he's like a ball of anxiety because he cares so much about his business, and that's just the way he is. Or the same goes for guys like Bilal. When I first met Bilal, he was doing tons and tons of money in leads for assurance back in the day, and now he's one of the leaders in the pay-per-call space as well. And he got that way by continually driving, having that desire, having that hunger. He built. At first, it was just him. Right, like now he has this massive team of great people around him as well, and the same goes for everybody else. I mean, I now subscribe to Manny Zuccarelli's model of having experts in different fields rather than having a Swiss Army knife of employees, where every employee is a Swiss Army knife. It is good to have experts in every one of those fields, but those guys like Manny again. Bilal and everybody else that I've mentioned, those are the people that are up before you and go to bed after you, and they're not lazy and they don't give up. And maybe they get a day where they lose a bunch of money, but it doesn't stop them from coming back with a vengeance. That's what you need. You need that hunger, you need that power, you need that strive, you need to have almost like a fighter's mentality, and you need to be like this person that's just like, okay, I lost a bunch of money, good. I'm gonna learn how to make sure that next time. First of all, good that I had the ability to afford to lose this kind of money. And second of all, good because now I'm going to learn from my mistake and make sure that I double the amount that I make next time.
That was a great answer. And while you were talking, one thing I want to say too, everyone that Stan's mentioned, including yourself, follow their LinkedIns, follow their Instagram. You'll get inspired by them. That's how I found out that Manny went to the White House, not the White House, to Washington, D.C. Bilal, speaking of him, I think and they go places where other people won't go. I mean, Manny went to Washington, D.C.
speaks at Google.
Exactly, yes.
Gets flown out by Google and speaks like, what?
No one else. I don't know anyone else doing that in their industry. So
nobody.
Again, started from one man shop to tons of people on his team doing great. A lot of ups and downs, but fucking always going forward, right? And going to Google. I mean, Google's one of the top 5 most valuable companies, or top 10. I don't know, up there, but he's there. He's in bed with those people. So you want to get in bed. You want that proximity is what it comes down to. And you got to find, that's kind of what you've done too when you think about it. You've gone another level now. Now you're talking about a company that was bought out by Humana, which I don't even know their market cap. Half a trillion, I have no clue, but that's a whole other fucking level. So that you're doing that too as we speak. And then I'm going to be speaking at an event in Puerto Rico end of April. My friend Maury's throwing an event there. Great event.
Oh, I love Maury. I love Maury.
You should try and make that event. But I'm going to talk about what I'm doing right now, because I'm doing that too. I got these deals with publicly traded solar battery companies, man. We have a press release going out in a couple of days. We have all these deals where it's kind of tied to lead gen, but it's not. Like it's another level up, and that's kind of what you're doing too. So you follow these people, and then no matter where you are in your journey here, whether you just started, you've been doing it a few years, it's just inspirational. And then success leaves clues. I say that a million times, and you follow them, follow their clues, and you can get there too.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you another quick anecdote of what it takes to be successful. You know, I've been doing Muay Thai for forever, right?
Like, glad you're talking about Muay Thai. Yes.
Not the. I'm nobody, like, in comparison to the guys that I know. That's why I don't really like. I'm like, yeah, okay, I do Muay Thai, or like, yeah, whatever. I go to Thailand, but there's a guy named Firdaus Naimi. Him and I not started together, but I met him when he was a young kid. He was like 18 and I was like 20 something, and we were training in the same gym. And at a certain point, we both made decisions that kind of changed our lives. He went the route of he's going to quit all the work that he was doing. He was becoming a professional plumber. Like, he was doing all these great things. He was making good money, and he's going to sacrifice his life and become a professional MMA fighter. And he went to Pittsburgh, to this place called Lower Burrell, Pennsylvania. Shout out Matt Factory. And lived in a tiny room where, like, the toilet is in the same room as your kitchen and everything. It's like fucking insane. And he lived there for 2 years learning how to wrestle. That's how he met Bo Nickel. That's how I ended up meeting Bo Nickel. But this kid went from being a great Muay Thai striker to becoming an undefeated 5-0 MMA fighter now. Right. And I support him as much as I can. And I think he's probably 1 or 2 fights away from being in the UFC. And he's a massive inspiration to me as well, man, because watching a guy that sacrificed his entire life, sacrificed everything, left his family, left his job, left every single thing you can imagine, he sacrificed, stripped himself down to nothing, almost like a monk mode, and just fought and learned and fought and learned and read books and philosophy and all these things and studied the art as much as he could. Now 5-0 undefeated.
It's amazing.
And it takes that mentality of, I don't give a fuck. I know that I'm destined for greatness, and I'm going to reach it by sacrificing everything that I can and diving into it head first. That's the most important thing. I dove in head first into Retriever. I'm diving in head first into Enroll here, and hopefully coming out the other side, with more knowledge than I've had before, and transforming everything. I mean, I want to transform the way I speak and the way I act and everything, because the lead gen industry taught me one way, and now I'm learning a much more professional and more kind of even-keeled way from speaking to guys like Tyler and Brandon and the team there. And you know, like I said, watching guys like that sacrifice absolutely everything and put everything to the side, put their lives on hold and say, I believe that I can achieve this. No matter what, no matter what you believe, if you believe it's strong enough, it's not going to come to you unless you put in the hard work that's associated with it. That is the most important part of it, is you really have to dive into it head first.
Yeah. You know what, man, I can't end it on that note, because I think that's the key, diving head first, right? That's what all these successful people we talked about have done. And you did that too with Muay Thai. You went to Thailand, right? I know for a point, I think you went away for a bit. You're like, listen, I'm turning off the business. The business ran on its own. And you went there and you're fighting over there and you just dove at first.
I did a few stints of training in Thailand and I really loved it. And I now have my entire back is tatted with Buddhist tattoos and
Nice.
and stuff. I kind of became a Buddhist while I was out there to an extent. I adopted a lot of the philosophies that they have, and I've seen these guys that, you know, like, dude, like these kids start fighting at 4. Like the world champion right now, this guy named Tawan Chai, he's doing an interview and he's speaking with this guy and he tells them, my most proud moment was when I fought for the first time. I was 10 years old and my opponent was 5 and I knocked him out. And I was happy because he had a bunch of fights before that and I've never fought before.
Wow. That's insane.
Like the mentality of people out there is incredible, and I learned a lot from the people that I met over there. I mean, I love Thailand. It's such a wonderful place, but the mentality of the people and kind of the hard work that they put into everything is incredible.
Man, you make me want to go to Philly World Bangkok. It's such a trek, but it's an experience.
It's worth it every time. To me, it's an excuse to go there, but yeah.
It's cool. One last thing. I mean, I'm just gonna give you the floor, man. Anything we didn't touch upon, you want to talk about? What's like a last? And I don't do this with anybody, but I feel like you have so much experience, and this was a great interview, by the way. God, man, this was amazing.
Thank you.
But I can't wait to see your evolution too. What's gonna happen next? But what's your last thoughts, man? Anything else you want to leave off on?
I know a lot of us are really good at giving other people advice, but I think the most important thing is to be able to take your own advice. And I'm very shitty at it. I'm great at giving people advice. I'm great at talking about these concepts and things. And for a while, I was able to take my own advice, and then I stopped over time due to burning out, etc. But take your own advice for the most part, and believe in yourself, and you're going to be able to achieve far more than you ever thought was possible. I mean, I'm a kid that went through 2 immigrations before I was 10 years old. You know, I never thought that I'd be wearing, you know, shoes that cost whatever amount of money, you know, like I never thought that I'd be able to get to the point that I'm at today. And the only way to get to that point is believing in yourself and just saying fuck it and just doing it. Like that is the most important kind of takeaway I can give you in this business, in life in general. Just say fuck it and do the thing, do the hard thing, and don't stop until you achieve results. That's it. That's it.
Great advice, and that's a philosophy of LFG Show. Let's fucking go, man. Do what you got to do to make it happen. So again, an honor having you on here. How can people find out more about you? If they don't reach out to you, what's the best mode?
So Instagram, Stan Pav 88. Find me on LinkedIn. Stop me at a conference. You know, I'm pretty reachable. My email is stan@enrollhere.com, so they can reach me at Enroll Here as well.
Beautiful. Guys, this is great, man. This is amazing. I'm glad we did it. I think we have to do another one down the road, 6 months, a year from now, whatever. See where you're at, man, how it's going over there. And I love the whole thing, disruption. It's all about disruption. You got to freaking pivot. If not, you're going to get disrupted, right? So I love that we talked about that. Man, listen, fucking right, have you on the show, man.
Thank you.
This was good.
Get ready to level your shit up with the LFG Show. We travel the globe to bring you heavy hitters from all walks of life. We've been talking some serious business, from the best digital marketers, government contracting experts, to top athletic and celebrity doctors. We've got it all covered. We're talking to guys with cash in for billions with a B. And the best thing is, we're just getting started. So hold on tight. We're about to crank it up a notch. Get ready for next level networking and masterminds within the LFG community. Scared money don't make no money or honey. Hit the subscribe button, drop a like, leave a comment, and let's fucking go.